All right, so let's talk about 911 Season 9, Episode 12, Dads and Cats, as well as the crossover episode with Nashville, which I think is called Spirit of the Games. I'm mostly going to be focusing on Episode 12 of the flagship show today, but I do have a few things to say about Nashville as well. So let's get into it. So, as far as opening emergencies go, I really liked this one. I thought it was really interesting. It was very cinematically shot, very well directed. I really enjoyed it. It didn't feel like it dragged on too long. It felt like the perfect amount of time you spent with these like brand new characters. They didn't overdo the backstory, but they gave you kind of just enough context to make it interesting. And then the actual emergency itself with the cinder blocks and all of that in the car was like quite shocking. Um, I really enjoyed it. I don't know. I don't always enjoy all the emergencies that this show does, or find all of them all that necessary, but this one I felt like struck a good balance. So I just wanted to say that because I don't often talk about the emergencies on this show that's about emergencies, funnily enough. But let's get into the meat of this, which is what's happening with Buck and Maddie's parents. That's a whole can of worms. So Buckley parent divorce. I genuinely didn't think they were going to do that. I was of the camp that thought it was going to be something much more serious, like one of them died, one of them had a terminal illness. I mean, even Buck thought that at the dinner table, rightfully so, because they were being so incredibly weird towards him and Maddie. But you know what? Divorce makes more sense because it gives just enough conflict in the plot to like give some inner turmoil, to give some good moments between Buck and Eddie, and then Buck and his dad later on, and also Buck and Maddie. But it's not so traumatic that it like derails everything else that's happening in the story, and it we can kind of use it for comedic relief in points, like in the scene where it starts and Buck is on his phone and he's like, this might be the hardest decision I've ever had to face, or the hardest thing I've ever had to face. And then it turns out he's looking at cowboy hats, is funny. Like it's because it's like, it's serious, it's not that serious. But I really want to talk about the moment between Buck and Eddie, where he's really hyperfixated on the games and having a strategy and competing, and Eddie could not care less. He's just not about that. And I absolutely love the moment where he finally admits, and kind of in a throwaway type of way, that his parents are getting divorced, and Eddie drops what he's doing to turn his attention on Buck and be like, hey, I'm really sorry. That must be really hard. And even Christopher being like, it's always hard on the kids, which is a good moment because you have Eddie's reaction, you have kind of Buck's reaction to that. There's a little bit of awkwardness there because there's, always going to be that history between, Eddie and Christopher and just everything they've gone through. And I think that was a good moment. But I really loved them showing that like Eddie might be distracted playing video games and whatever as Buck is rambling about his like latest obsession. But when it really comes down to it for something important, Eddie will drop everything and turn his attention to Buck because they are at the end of the day best friends, right? This has nothing to do with the ship of Buddy. This is just like these are lifelong best friends. And when your best friend is going through something, whether or not they are acting like it's a big deal or not, you should give them a moment. And I thought that was quite beautiful. And this show loves a redemption arc. They love to redeem a parent on this show. It's like their favorite hobby. And so I'm not surprised by the conversation with Buck and his dad later on, but I have to say, I know we hate on the Buckley parents. It's a beautiful scene. It's very well acted. It's very touching. Um and I think it was kind of necessary. I do. I think I'm glad we're showing Buck's dynamic with his family. I just think it's interesting. I think it's interesting as an actor. I think it's interesting as a viewer. And if you love Evan Buckley, the character, I think the more we get of his like emotional life, the more interesting of a character he becomes. I thought the Bobby Nash involvement in this whole story was extremely moving and very touching. Like Bobby Nash submitted Buck and Eddie for this competition. Like that's so important. He believed in the two of them and had the insight, the intuition that Eddie would come back. He would. He knew this in his soul. And even, you know, after his passing, he is continuing to impact these characters in a way that is so meaningful. And while it's sad, I think it's beautiful that we're not just erasing his memory, that we're still incorporating him in the plot. And I think the whole exchange between Buck and his dad about how like, hey, like your captain really believed in you. Like he was a father to you, basically when I wasn't. And I would like to honor that memory and acknowledge that. that is such profound emotional growth from behalf of his dad, and also just like growth in their relationship as adult people. Like, I don't know, I'm really impressed that this show went there. I did not think they would. Um and as much as it pains me to hear about Bobby Nash and not have him present in the show, I do think they're doing a good job honoring his memory. I hate to say it, they're doing a good job in my opinion. Now let's not give him too much credit, because the knowledge that they were nearby during the funeral and didn't come, excuse me? Like, when he goes, "We're terrible parents," my entire group of friends was like, "Correct. You guys are terrible parents. Thank you so much for acknowledging that." So I'm not saying that they're off scot free. I'm just saying it was a beautifully emotionally touching scene. And the Buckley parents remain terrible parents. So they can have growth, they can have moments of clarity, but they're still terrible parents. Let's just put that out there, all right? Okay, let's lighten the mood a little bit and talk about May Ravi, who I love so much. Look how quickly we can canonize a relationship on this show. Look at that. Easy peasy, right? Loved this whole running bit of Harry basically walking in on him, seeing Ravi. You're welcome, by the way. Hilarious. The knowledge that they have been together multiple times. Yeah. That that May initiated multiple times. Yeah, that's my girl. Like, exactly. Exactly. I thought it was funny. I thought it was a great running bit throughout the episode. I kind of love seeing more of like Harry and Ravi. I hope we continue to see more of their dynamic moving forward. May, love her so much. I thought the like entire scene with Harry and May and Athena was great. Like, it was very charged. Athena was like, "None of my business." I maintain that she already knows everything that's going on with May and Ravi and like fully supports it and is not getting involved. That's what I think. Um I thought it was great and funny, and I love May Ravi, and I hope we get more of them. I hope it's not just like a, oh, and they've just been hooking up and they're dating, and then we'll leave it at that. Like, I hope we explore it a little bit. Like, let's explore this relationship. It's kind of interesting. I don't know, give us something. Forgot to mention earlier, we keep winning, specifically in Buck's backyard. Like, the scenes we've been getting there, him working out, him in those clothes, him having emotionally vulnerable moments with Maddie, the sunlight hitting his beautiful blue eyes just right. Like, we're just being fed. Like, those scenes, we're getting so much of it. Like, I'm loving how much of Buck's house we're getting. I never thought we would be getting this many scenes like in that location. Um, but we are, and I love it. And I applaud them for making it so beautifully like cinematically shot. That's just like cherry on top. You know what I mean? They didn't have to do that, but they did for us. Okay, so briefly touching on the 911 crossover episode with Nashville. I don't watch 911 Nashville, so I can't speak to the show or its characters, but I thought it was overall a good time. I said in my last video that I do feel like they were writing Buck and Eddie through a very like general audience appeasing straight lens. We kind of just erased Buck's bisexuality completely. That's a whole thing. Look, it was fine. It wasn't like egregiously bad. It was just like some moments where you're like, really? That weren't really in alignment with what we've been seeing on the 911 flagship show. But at the end of the day, we got an episode full of Buck and Eddie. Like, I think someone did the tally or calculated it, and they were in over 20 minutes of a 40 something minute episode. So we really were fed as Buck and Eddie fans. I couldn't really care less about the 113, but I thought that like how it ended was cute in the games. I mean, we got to see them all compete. They were shirtless. It was hot. Like, we got a bunch of scenes with them. I'm not going to speak to the emergency where the guy's face basically got busted in. That was disgusting. I couldn't watch any of that. I was like, what in the Eric Kripke is happening? I hate this. Disgusting. Um, but we got them in cowboy hats. We got them riding a mechanical bull. You know what I mean? Like, was it the best? No. Was it the worst? No. Anytime I get more Buck and Eddie, I'm happy. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm very excited, though, for episode 13. Y'all, lock in. It's about to be crazy.